Hello YouTube and welcome to F1 Unchained channel. Today we're talking about Mick Schumacher. Mick has been the recent talk of contracts and whether he'll be in Formula One, whether he'll be leaving or whether he'll be staying. And I'm here to tell you that he needs to stay. The two teams left are Haas and Williams, and he is rumored to be getting a contract extension at Austin, Texas, which is Circuit of the Americas, which I'm assuming Haas is the one that is probably going to offer them the contract, but I want to talk about why he should fully deserve this and why I shouldn't have even been up for the debate in the first place. All right, let's get started into some of the facts. Okay, so to start the season, here are the positions that Mick ended up finishing in. As you can see, when you look at this, it doesn't look that great, but there's a story related to a lot of these positions and what happened. Bahrain was quite unlucky, and he probably should have finished higher up, just like Magnussen did, but Magnussen was higher up on the grid, so finished higher. This is not really like the track to defend him on. It was his first race with this new car, and he finished 11th. Magnussen was way better in this race. Australia, he beat Magnussen here. Got 13th, but the car wasn't that great here, and I don't know, he wasn't really competing too much in this race. Then you got Miami, Italy, Spain, which are all pretty average tracks for the Haas and didn't really go anywhere. Well, he did get beat though in Imola by Magnussen, but he also got spun on the second corner of the Imola race, so his race kind of just got screwed over there. Then we have his big shunts like Monaco. I forgot about Saudi Arabia. It's actually not on this list because he didn't even compete in Saudi Arabia, but those are his biggest flaws. For sure. This first half of the season, what I'm trying to say is, this first half of the season wasn't a great start to the season. And the shunts really made him seem like he wasn't doing well in comparison to Magnussen, who was finishing with the car, but not always finishing the points, and had a couple of huge point scores, which is why he's above Mick.
Oh man, thank you. Kevin, that was so Viking comeback.
So I would say Mick's changing point was Canada. He qualified 6th there. The car didn't finish due to a problem, but that was when Mick really decided to put up the levels. We have Britain where he scored, we have Austria where he scored, which are awesome scoring points. France, he wasn't bad, there wasn't really much to say, the car is slow. The car has also, might I add, decelerated in progress. Kind of like Alfa Romeo, Haas is just going down, and we know this to be true because every single year the Haas car just drops after the first couple of races. And as shown, the car has dropped. So France, Hungary, Belgium, and Netherlands. Netherlands actually should have been points for him. He got screwed over in the pit lane, and it was like a 5 or 6 second, actually maybe even longer than that. I think it was a very long pit stop, and then he got into a fight with Vettel, and they were going back and forth for 13th and 14th, but that didn't really matter at that point. On the safety car, he had old tires. He couldn't have really jumped anybody there, so he didn't really have much good luck in Netherlands. Italy should have been another point scorer if it wasn't for that last safety car. He was on a roll in a car that probably shouldn't have even gotten close to the top 10. That was an awesome performance by Mick. Not a point scoring one, but an awesome performance. Singapore, same thing. Should have been in the points. Got screwed over by George. Got salty and hit him. Japan, he was first for a bit, so that tells you something. Okay, going into some of the qualifying results he's had over the year. So, okay, on this list you can see that Bahrain 12th, 15th, 10th, 15th, 10th, 15th, 20th. For the most part, he's been sticking around that 10th to 15th range, but like I said, Canada was that changing point, and this is where we see a big improvement from him. We have that 6th place in Canada. We have that 9th place in Austria. In Britain, the car was terrible. It really didn't suit that track anyways. They were probably up there with the Aston Martins in one of those like terrible tracks. The French Grand Prix, another one of those Grand Prix that doesn't suit the car. Hungary, to me, was pretty surprising that they weren't better here. I thought that they would be better, but if I do remember correctly, Magnussen had the upgrades here and he did not. And that was the difference. I actually think he out-qualified Magnussen this race. I'll add it on the screen if I'm right. But I think he did. Belgium didn't suit the car. As soon as the car is suited, he goes 8th. Magnussen was dropped in the Q2. He makes it to Q3. Huge improvement. Italy, car wasn't good. Singapore, Could have done better, honestly. Could have done better. Magnussen beat him here. In Japan, he still outqualified Magnussen, but the car really wasn't suited for Japan. The biggest story that I want you to get out of this is Mick Schumacher has been beating Magnussen. Magnussen has been the guy that they keep comparing him to. He has beaten him in more races than he's lost to. I'm about to show you that right now. So in positions head-to-head, Mick, out of the 17 GPs we've had, 17 we've had, now counting Japan, he's beaten him in the 11 out of the 17, Kevin 6. This is counting Mick's shunts, too. So let's say that the number could possibly be a 13-4. Could also be a 12-5. Could also be as it is. But 11-6 with 2 big shunts. Also, this is counting. Also, this is counting Kevin Magnussen's mess ups, because he's had a couple of DNFs as well. So Mick got a couple free points there too. But they add up. I'm pretty sure that both of them only have 3 DNFs throughout the whole entire season. Which for a Haas car is not too bad, to say the least. He's also proved himself in races like Austria. Canada would have been a good race to prove himself, but he's proved himself in Austria by defending for Lewis and defending for Kevin the whole entire time, for actually Kevin to end up being in the better result than Mick, when Kevin really should have been holding that position and giving him DRS, which he wasn't. He has really proven that he's a team player. He's a great Formula 1 driver, and he has a lot of race pace. His qualifying pace is getting there too, but his race pace is getting better as well. Austria, we saw the villain arc, Schumacher. So that was nice to see a little bit of anger in him to finally show off to like, nah, I know who I am. So that was nice to finally see some of that passion from him. We really got to see a taste of who Mick really is. Mick's been that driver, and I thought that since last year to this year now. If we were to rank 20 drivers on the grid and drivers that have gotten a contract that I think are worse than Mick, might I add, I like these drivers as well, but I think Mick is more deserving to them. Up on the screen. Yuki, first of all, Yuki can be good, but Yuki has not proved anything this year. Other than the first couple of races, he's been pretty good in those, but then he's just kind of fallen off. Some terrible shunts, just like mistakes that shouldn't be happening, which Mick was doing in the beginning of the season, but has improved. And improvement is really the only thing we can really go off of for both Mick and Yuki. Yuki got a contract extension. I would argue that Mick and Zhao are very close too. Zhao has been extremely unlucky, might I add. Extremely unlucky, but Mick has been just as unlucky with some of the things that have been happening. Zhao more for the mechanical problems that Alpha's been having, but Haas because of just like the car decelerating while he's been improving. So you can kind of pair the two as the same type of drivers. I honestly think of Mick kind of on the level of Alex Albon. I think that they are pretty similar. If you had to give them an overall, I'd probably say like 83 for both of them. And I'd say that K-Mag is like an 83 too. They're all kind of similar drivers in my opinion. All can be great on certain days. Some days are good, some days are bad. It really depends on what track and how the car is performing. All in all, I hope that we get a sign or a contract extension at Coda for Mick, because he needs to stay in Formula 1. I think that he's deserving and he's shown enough to keep himself in Formula 1. And I think that he's actually like a spectacular driver. If you give him the right car in the right instance, I think he's going to be a good driver. We need to see more of him, obviously. We need to see more with other opponents, more like teammates. We'll see after Magnussen. If he does stay in the sport, I want to see him past that and something against like, it'd be really interesting to see him against something like a Lando or a Russell or so on in his career, because I think he has that potential to be that good. But he hasn't shown it yet. He hasn't shown that potential. He's shown great potential, but not spectacular potential. Let me know what you guys think, honestly. I know that it's a very varied opinion, and some people really want him to say, some people say that he's bad, and some people just think he's from the Schumacher name, and it's like, oh, okay, screw this guy. He's just in here because of his name, but I disagree. I think that he's a good driver and deserves to stay. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe, give it a like on the video. If you didn't like it, grab a dislike. But hope you enjoyed. and peace.